Hi, Stephen here for the Idiot Quilter, and here's another interview in my series of interviews with subscribers. Enjoy. Hello, everyone. It's Stephen here for the Idiot Quilter, and I have a special guest today for another one of my interviews. And this is Jean. And how do I say your last name, Jean?
It's Brittingham.
Brittingham. Okay. And Jean has a YouTube channel. You may be familiar with it. It's called Kept in Stitches. And we will be talking about that a little bit more later on in the interview. But let's just get started by finding out, where are you located, roughly? You don't have to give me your actual street address.
That's okay. I am in the Midwest, I guess, as we call it, Mideast, Midwest, in Ohio.
Oh, okay. Um, so you're probably not that far away from Stephanie Stitches, because she's in Ohio as well. With that,
Correct.
seems there's a lot of quilters come from the Ohio area. I don't know if that's because of the Amish influence or what, but just seems, but that's okay. So let's get into it. How long have you been quilting?
I have been quilting for 37 years.
Okay, so you're not just new to the game here. You've been doing it for a long time. And
Mhm.
do you do any other kind of, I know kind of the answer to this, but other people won't. Do you do any other kind of handwork, crafting?
I do a bit of everything. I crochet, I embroider, I cross stitch. Let me see. Oh, I do cloth junk journaling and the other type. Oh, a little bit of everything.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Well, you're never bored, I am
No.
sure, like that. So how did you get started into quilting?
I am actually a self-taught quilter. However, my grandmother was my influence. She did quilt when I was a little girl, but she taught me many crafts, but for some reason never taught me quilting.
Hmm.
So, but she did have me cut out, back then it was the cardboard templates and that
Yeah.
type of thing. Hand her needles to her, maybe thread them, that type of thing. But yeah, so she was the influence behind the quilting.
So I'm taking from what you're saying, then maybe it skipped a generation. Did your mother quilt?
My mother did not quilt. She did sew, but she did not quilt.
Yeah. That is not unusual. I'm finding when I do these interviews, it sounds like it oftentimes skips a generation. In my case, my grandmother was a quilter. My mother never quilted. She did some sewing. When all of us kids were younger, she made like my sister's outfits and things like that. But she never ever quilted. And then, like yourself, I'm kind of self-taught as well. But I haven't been doing it for 37 years. I've only been doing it for about 5 or 6 with it. So I'm new to the scene. So I guess then my next question you've already answered, which was, did anyone in your family influence you? And you said it was your grandmother, but she never actually taught you how to quilt. She just had you do the donkey work. By this,
Right.
but you must have seen now. Was she a hand quilter? Because I know you do hand quilting.
Her quilting was by hand. She did have a treadle sewing machine that she used all the time. She had gotten a modern machine, but hated it, so she went back to the treadle. But yeah, all of her quilting was by hand. She did have a quilt frame that was made by my grandfather. So one of those that hung from the ceiling, but in the basement and was
Oh,
lowered
right,
down when they
right.
sat around it. Yep.
Yeah. So would you say then that maybe I'm assuming you love to hand quilt. Do you is that coming directly from your grandmother from seeing what she did?
No, I think that's just my background in sewing and everything. I've just loved all types of hand stitching and everything, and my preference is hand quilting. Not that I don't do others,
Yeah.
but yeah, I just love it. It's calming, relaxing, therapeutic.
Yeah, for me it's bloodletting. So I don't do it. I don't do I want to do I do want to sort of try it on a very small piece one day just to see what it's like. But everything I ever touch with a needle, like I said, there's a bloody mess over.
That's
I'm
no fun.
very klutzy with it. I like the technology. So do you have, I see a lot of your work behind you. I imagine those are works in progress because it looks like they're on a
A
design.
lot of them are finished because I wasn't sure what you would ask and what I would want to
Oh,
show, so I pulled a few things.
well, let's talk about those then. My question was, do you have a favorite creation? And if you do, why is it your favorite?
Oh, that's easy, that's this one right here.
Ah,
That is my mother,
that is really neat. So,
the portrait quilting, which this was a class that I took,
oh, okay,
the process of that. I've taken technique classes, but that type of thing.
right.
But so this is, of course, my favorite because she's no longer with us. But
Yes. And it's
so yeah,
also,
that would be my favorite.
it is a really nice piece. I have never tried to do portrait. Um,
Yeah.
it looks very complicated to me. And and that's what we're going to tell people too, that it is very
Yes,
complicated.
it is. It was a 7-layer process and,
Wow.
yep.
Geez, a lot of work. Well, I can see from not just because it is your mother, but also because of the time you must have spent on it um, to do it. That's would be, yeah, your favorite. So tell
Yep.
me about the things that are behind you around there.
Well, we might get into that later, but one of my favorite types other than hand quilting is needle turn applique. So that is, and of course it's hand quilted also, but this is one of the needle turn appliques.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And it is actually also the reverse form of needle turn applique
The
to
reverse
where
one.
you're tracing the outline of the applique on the back side and basting it and then turning it under from the
Oh,
front. So it's a
okay.
different one of those technique classes again to learn a different form, but
Yeah. I've done a
yes.
little
Yes.
applique, but not needle turn. I've done, fusible type of applique and that kind of stuff. I've never really attempted needle turn because I admire it, but I don't have I don't know if I have the patience for that because that takes a lot of patience and time and fiddling. It's
Right. Yep.
fiddling.
There's a lot of people that tell me I have a lot of patience. I don't
I
know.
would think so, just from what you've shown me already. And when you're doing the needle turn applique, do you use those Apla tools or whatever that you know what I'm
No,
talking about? No,
no. Mine is all,
just
cut
done.
by hand, trace using either a freezer paper to trace it or yeah,
Yeah,
that
just
type of thing. And then I don't when I do it, some people will do it with that freezer paper template still on top. Mine's removed. I just,
and you just
mark it and just go and needle turn and
well,
do it.
I'm sure you've had a lot of practice doing this kind of thing. So for you, it's
Yes, yep, I've done both the hand quilting and the needle turn applique for years, so
okay. So you know
I
what you're doing.
yeah, I can about do it with well, you can't do it with your eyes closed, but,
Yeah.
don't have to think about it much.
Yeah, yeah, true. Like anything, with practice comes perfection. So what is there anything else there you want to show me?
Um, we might yeah, well, this one only because I love because I'm a little OCD and sometimes go overboard, and I don't know if it'll show up. I will try and hold it close, but this one, I mean, is applique
Mm,
plus also the hand quilting. But I
yes.
decided to echo the applique,
Oh, okay.
and I ended up echoing it like an eighth of an inch apart.
Oh my
So I
goodness.
mean, it is very. I don't know if you can see the
Yes,
triangle.
yes, right there. If you just hold it there for a second. Oh yeah, I see what you
I
mean.
mean, it's very densely stitched, and you may be able to see that even better from the back side.
Oh
If I
yes. Yes, I can see what you mean.
yeah.
Again, a lot of patience. A lot of patience. I just don't have that kind of patience. But yeah, but you must enjoy doing that. So, there wouldn't be any other reason if to do it if you didn't enjoy it, right?
Right.
So, let's talk about what type of quilter you are. Now, this is an unfair question because I'm asking you to pick a label. And that's hard, and especially with somebody that's very versatile like yourself with all the different things you do. So would you consider yourself, let me put it this way, would you consider yourself leaning towards a more traditional quilter, or are you more modern? I think I know the answer to this just by looking around your room. Or freeform, experimental? How would you characterize your style?
I would say I am traditional with a twist,
Meaning?
meaning I'm traditional, but I'm not afraid to branch out and sometimes go outside of my box.
Okay, I was going to say, so you think a little outside of the box as well on that, which, I think if you, with the number of years you've been quilting, I think it would behoove you not to think outside of the box because, after a while, quilting can get boring if you're doing the same old thing all the time. You gotta, extend yourself creatively and skill wise as well. So that's obviously something that you have been doing as well. And that's what I like about quilting. As you get older and you retire, some people just roll over and die because they have nothing to keep their interest. They sit in front of the boob tube all day long, kind of a deal. And when I retired 11 years ago, I said, oh no, I'm not going to be one of those people. But I was always a crafter, but paper crafting. And then when I discovered quilting, well, whole world opened up, not because of making quilts, but because of what it did with my brain. Like,
Right.
what if I did this? I have to learn a new skill here, challenge yourself, that kind of thing. And that's what I love about it. Because I think if you keep your mind working, you keep the rest of yourself working too. Uh,
Right. And a lot of older people and well quilters as we age and stuff, which yes, I am aged to perfection, I say. But
that's
um
that's good. I like that.
but we have problems with our hands and can be arthritic and other issues and type of thing. And a lot of people will say that they can no longer do the handwork because of the pain in their hands.
Right.
And I keep doing the handwork because I believe it keeps them limber and exercises them and keeps them being able to move and use longer instead. Yeah, it can be
Yep.
painful at times, but if you keep working them and working through, I believe that helps. So,
And I think I would agree with you because, it's that old adage, if you don't use it, you lose it kind of a
right.
thing. So, yeah, I would agree with you unless you're really, really severely crippled by it. But, you know, I, I, I don't think you should, or my mindset is, I just don't give in to the pain, kind of a thing as much as I possibly can. I mean, who knows? Luckily, I don't have arthritis at this point in my life, but it's a possibility because I think it's inheritable, and my mother and father both had it. So, I got to keep myself limber so I don't get decrepit like they were because they were really bad. So, I see you're probably sitting in your work area. So, do you want to describe it? Like physically, is it a large room in your house or a tiny space?
Physically, it is not in my house. It
Ah,
is in my backyard and it is my stitching cottage, is what I call it. It
nice.
was built by the Amish.
Oh, so how big is it?
It is 18 by 18 and it
Ooh,
has, about 10-foot ceilings, but
wow.
but
Oh my
but yeah.
God. We just put up a shed today, had it built in our backyard. And I said to Walter, I said, Lucy, this would be a nice home for Lucy. He has other plans, something to do with gardening equipment and lawnmowers and things like that.
Yeah, yeah. No, no, this is totally finished inside, and yeah, I do have, which my long arm's not named, but I do have the long arm also out here. It would be nice to have a separate area for that, so it's not
Yeah.
taking up so much of the space, but it works.
Yeah. Well, that's all that matters. But yes, I'm sure people, when they see this, are going to be very envious that you have an actual building to,
Mhm.
put all your sewing stuff because, and I'm sure you probably find that you still don't have enough space because we fill it up,
Never
don't.
enough space.
That's
Nope,
right.
never enough space.
If there's a blank wall somewhere, you're going to be putting something on it for sure. So that's
Mhm.
nice. Now, then let's talk a little bit about your favorite tools or techniques. Um, what's
Okay.
one tool you can't live without? You always have to have it with you.
Okay, yep, it would be my hand quilting lap hoop.
I saw one of your videos this morning where you were one of your chats where you had that out. You were doing that while you were chatting. So yeah, I've looked at those too, and I've thought, that would be kind of nice because then you can it's portable to a
Right, which
certain
this
extent.
one is actually custom made. It
Oh,
was made by a friend of mine, her husband made them, and he's no longer living, or I would have another one.
yeah,
But
that looks
but
great. So, what's your favorite technique? Do you have one?
mm, needle turn applique.
I was going to guess that because if it wasn't your favorite, you wouldn't have many pieces done with that.
Right.
So let's talk about your equipment, like in your sewing machine. So how many sewing machines do you own? Because we all own more than one.
Oh, I believe I own 6. Yeah,
Only six. Oh my
only 6, but
goodness. And what are they? All different brands, or do you stick to one brand?
no, they're all different brands. I had my main one, which is here, is a Janome 6600P. It
That's
has the bigger throat and it has the fast stitch. So, and
yeah.
it's a workhorse. Love
Yes.
it.
My
I have go ahead.
I was just going to say my first sewing machine was the 6700P. The next one up from that, and
Right.
now my husband uses it for all his garment sewing, and it's never let him down. You're right; they are a workhorse. They're an excellent,
Yeah.
excellent
Yeah.
machine.
And I
So
love the built-in walking foot and the optional walking feet that you can put on it.
yeah,
Those. Yeah.
yeah, they're great. Plus, it's no, it's not a free arm on that one, is it? Uh,
No.
no, that's one thing. But yeah, it's got a fairly large throat space too on
Oh
it,
yeah.
so
Yeah.
which is good as well. So, what else do you own as far as machines?
I own, okay, let me see. The long arm, of course, counts as a machine.
And what kind
But
what kind of long arm is it? What brand?
mine is just a Tin Lizzie. I mean,
Okay,
got it years ago, but it's been fine, and I've had it for, oh, I forgot. It's been about 12 years, I think, and it's only had to be serviced. I mean, that something major service one time. So
are they still making Tin Lizzies?
no,
No, I
they
didn't
went
think
out of
so.
business.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because they were one of the really first major ones, I think, that hit the market when they came out. And I've heard a lot of people say that they've had their Tin Lizzie for years and years and years, and it's been a great machine. Like they're really well built with that.
Mhm.
I think a company bought them out, and I'm not sure who it was.
It did, and I'm not sure either. I couldn't say, but
No.
yeah.
And how big is it? Is it 10 foot,
It's a
12 foot?
oh, I have the 10-foot frame with it. Yeah, and it's the 18 throat is what size I have. So,
Oh, okay. Well, it's a good size then. So you can do
mhm.
pretty much anything you want on that size of machine. Mine, I called mine Lucy, but mine was called Lucy because it's an APQS, and APQS gives us names. And so the model
Right.
we have is Lucy. So
Yep.
Lucy, have words some days. With it. Do you have a computerized program for it, or are you strictly free motion all the way?
Strictly my hands. Yep.
Okay, well, you're
No
very
computer.
skilled at hand sewing, so and hand quilting, so I'm sure you're very good at free motion. I'm not. I love
I do
computers.
a lot of pantographs, but I
Yeah,
do some, free motion also. So,
yeah, yeah. That's something that I should put a little bit more time and effort into with mine. But I've got the computer on it, and I love technology, so I love
right.
pushing the buttons and watching it go. Although sometimes Lucy and I have words.
I'm the one that pushes the buttons and go, "Why isn't this working? I don't know what
Yeah.
to do." No.
Oh, well, yeah, I've had mine for about a year and a half, and yeah, I still have moments where, okay, this isn't working for me. But yeah, but I do love my long arm.
Mhm.
I mean, the long arms just in the kit for basting a quilt alone, you don't have to be on the floor or on a whole bunch of tables set up, and it's so much easier with that kind of thing. But they're expensive and you need space. Well, you've got space, so that works. Okay, so do you have any other sort of non-related machines, like non-related to quilting, for example, a serger?
No. I do not have a serger. I have never, for what I do, I have never felt the need
For
for a
what,
serger.
right?
What little bit that I would need to do, there's an attachment that you can do, a form of serging stitch on this. So I've never found the need
Wait a
for
minute.
having a serger myself.
No, I have noticed that there's been a trend on YouTube lately, where people are using their sergers to actually sew quilts. Um, I'm not really sure how that works. With it, I have a serger. I did try a little bit, just small pieces. I'd rather do it on a domestic machine. I can't see the point of using a serger for it. I mean, and trying to keep your seam allowances on a serger accurate, well, that's not easy.
Well, and our space is limited, so why take it up with something you're not going to use as often as
Exactly.
as much?
Exactly. Now, you don't happen to have a featherweight, do you?
Yes, I do.
Ooh, tell
Yep.
me. I just recently acquired one, so
Yeah, I've had mine for a while. I will use it when I am going not to a class, but with other people sewing or whatever. Sometimes I will take it along just because it's lighter weight,
yeah,
easier, that type of thing. I do have another machine that I also take when I go to other places, but just a cheap one that you don't have to worry about,
right.
throwing it in the back of your car and
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah,
So,
exactly. With
but
it.
yeah, I love the featherweight when it just comes to, you're just going to be sitting there straight stitching and you have limited space because it is
Yeah.
a smaller machine and you don't have to worry about when you're with a bunch of women and
Yeah,
confined to that,
your little
one area. Yeah.
confined thing. That's true. So if you had all the money in the world, is there a piece of equipment you would invest in?
Oh, can it be a big piece of equipment
Oh,
like a
yes.
building? If
Yeah.
if money were no option, I would purchase a old home to make into a bed and breakfast quilt retreat.
Oh, that would be neat, really neat. Yeah.
It's always been my dream, so
Yeah, no, and I have been to a couple of places in my travels where they have done exactly that as well, and it is glorious. It really is with that kind of thing. Of course, these people are running them as a business as well, so they've got a lot of money invested in the property and whatnot. But yeah, that would be
right.
something. Yeah, I'd like that too.
But I love teaching others, and I think that would be, a great way to be able
Yeah.
to do that more, so
Oh, sure, sure, it would be. So, speaking of other people, have you ever belonged to a guild or an in-person group or an online group?
I have belonged to a couple guilds. I no longer belong to them in person, mainly because they're in the evening and I no longer can drive in the dark,
Right.
so
Yep.
but I do belong to an online guild.
Oh, okay. And how do you find being in a guild? Now, the reason I'm asking that question is because when I first got into quilting, I joined a local guild here that had about there was 100 ladies and me
Mhm.
in the guild, and I basically was in it for a couple of years and I did not have a good experience with it. And I have heard other people say similar things about other guilds. Sometimes they tend to be very clicky, you
I
know?
was just gonna say
Yeah.
that, right. Yep.
And
Yeah,
that,
I found it not to be what I was expecting a guild to be. I mean, it was more business meeting and show and tell,
mm,
and you could tell right away there was clicks, don't sit here because no, that's
yeah,
somebody else's seat, that type of thing. Yeah, it wasn't, not that there weren't good things that came from
yeah,
it, like being able to have the professionals come in for classes that you could take, that was, a good to it. When they had their retreat, that was fun, but other than that, I really found it not to be what I was expecting it to be.
yeah. What were you expecting? More instruction and things like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
what I was.
more, help a beginner,
Yeah,
that type of thing. Yeah.
yeah, that's what I was hoping for too, because I had just gotten started and I thought, well, this is a way to, I can learn some things and whatnot. And some of the people in the guild were very, very helpful and very friendly, but the vast majority of them, it was like, you're new and we don't want to really deal with you. And as you said,
Right.
yeah, this chair is such and such. Don't you dare sit
Yep.
in that chair.
Yeah, right. It's
Yeah,
like going to church. Don't sit in my pew, you know.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. Like that. So I gave it up after a couple of years because just wasn't getting anything out of it. But I since then I have discovered, of course, like we all did with the pandemic, the benefits of Zoom. And although I don't belong to a guild through Zoom, some of the things that I do, as you well know, because you were there for my pop-up so day and that, I have made a lot of friends that way, and a constant group of people, and we share ideas. So in a sense, we're like a guild, except
Right.
you have to worry about driving to it, like you said. Let's face it, here where I live and where you live too as well, because Ohio gets snow. In the wintertime, to get to a meeting, you don't know what the weather's going to bring. And I don't like driving at night anymore. Your eyesight is not as good. And so, yeah, Zoom types of meetings and get-togethers and so alongs, I really love with that. And I don't have to lug my stuff either. So,
Right. Right.
because you always forget something, right? You go to a retreat, and I mean, I used to go to in-person retreats. Now, not so much with it. In fact, I haven't gone to any this year. I'm going to Stephanie's in December, but that'll be it. And that's a road
Does
trip
she?
of 1,000 miles.
Okay. Is
Yeah.
she doing hers in Ohio?
No,
Okay.
I think she does about 4 of them a year, and she has them in different locations. The one that I'm going to at New Year's is in Georgia.
Okay.
And we're driving down because we're taking our sewing machine. So it's 1,000
Yeah,
miles.
that's a long trip.
Yep. Well, yeah, we've been further. That's not a problem. I'm really quite excited about it. But generally speaking, I'd rather do Zoom so days because everything's here. Don't have to worry about a thing.
They're totally relaxed,
Yeah,
too. And if you have to hop out for a while, you can come back, it's
come
like,
back. Yeah, that's very true. So do you have a lot of stores, quilt shops in your area, or do you do a lot of your buying online, or combination?
well, of course, now it has to be a combination because we lost a lot of our local quilt shops during the pandemic, which is unfortunate, very unfortunate. My favorite quilt shop that was the closest to me is one that went to all online, closed their physical store down. So now the nearest to me, they're about an hour away. So no, I don't go as frequently. But I am one that would prefer and do as much as I can, except I have to be honest and say I have, two 18-foot walls of fabric from floor to
Yeah,
ceiling. So no, do I need to purchase much? No, but you still, always want
yeah.
to add a few things. So I am a touchy-feely, need to see it,
Hmm,
you know,
kind of person.
kind. So
Yep,
I prefer going to a quilt shop even if I have to, drive that far. But
yep,
I will purchase online also, mainly usually if I really know the
yeah.
fabric line and what I'm getting.
Yeah.
So
I'm kind of the same way. I love going into a quilt store, but I don't mind shopping online. But the same thing, I look at the manufacturer. It's some company I know that I'm comfortable with. I'm not worried about purchasing it online, but that's that's about it. But you were saying too, it, you have all this fabric, which most of us do, and you said, well, you don't need it, but it's not a question of need. It's a question
right.
of want. you know and I refuse to feel guilty about spending money on fabric, because I hate the question, and I'm sure you've been asked this. You've picked out some fabric in a quilt store, and there's somebody leaning over while they're cutting it for you and saying, so what are you going to do with that? And I look at them and go, I have no bloody idea. But it's, well, why are you buying it? Because it's
Because
pretty.
I like
That's right.
it.
It's pretty. I like it. So
Yeah.
yeah, they're
I'm
always,
one of the ones yeah, I'm one of the ones it's funny because, even if you have a pattern or something that you have in mind and you're looking and it says, "Okay, it calls for a half a yard," and they'll go, "Well, do you want" I'm going, "No, just give me 3 yards."
yeah,
It's like
I'm the same. I never buy anything under two meters of fabric, even though the pattern might call for half a meter. I always buy two. Then you get the ones who say to you, well, you're spending an awful lot of money on that. Well, it's my money. I can spend it anywhere I want. But no, I
Right.
didn't say that to them, although I'm tempted. I said, yeah, but I make mistakes. So, I want to make sure that if I make a mistake, I'm okay. I've got the fabric
Right.
there for it. But
Right.
yeah, it doesn't go to waste. You can always find something else to do with it too. Um, so do you have any favorite? Now you said you were self-taught. So now you've been doing this for 37 years. So that means you started before there was really such thing as the internet and YouTube and everything like that. So how did you teach yourself? Did you teach yourself from books or?
Yeah, in fact, the very first, quilt that I made was from a quilt magazine that back then was, like
Hmm.
15 inches, tall and whatever. And it was funny because as I was making that quilt, and it was a four a four patch and an hourglass block alternating. And I'm an accountant by trade, so I don't know if that had something to do with it, but I'm looking at their measurements and I'm going on the hourglass, I thought, this block is not going to work out the same size as the four patch.
Hmm.
And so I took a couple pieces of um paper and took a color pencil to make one a different color, cut it out the way that they said so I wouldn't waste my fabric, and yeah, it did not fit. So I figured out how to make it come out the right measurements
Hmm.
that it would fit. And of course, the next month there was a correction to the pattern correcting their mistake. But yeah, so I learned from magazines, and I also learned from back in the day when we watched them on public TV. I mean, I
Right.
watched Eleanor
Yeah.
Burns, oh, I can't think of her first name, but her last name was Bonsteel, that
Oh,
type of thing. Some of those Fonz and Porter were on at that time. So I watched a lot of that and picked up hints and stuff along the way from that too.
yeah. So that was led me to another thought here as you were speaking about that. So do you have any favorite experts that you may have used to go to, maybe not, you don't need them anymore, or do you still have some you?
Well, I have favorite designers, I guess I
Okay, well
would
let's
say.
talk about that. Designers. Who are your favorite?
Well, Jan Paddock is one. I kind of, tend towards the older traditional. Kim Deal.
Mhm.
Um, Let me think. Joe Morton, which for the longest time thought Joe Morton was a man.
Oh yeah,
And
okay.
then I found out, oh,
Yeah.
it's a woman. Which I mean, now Joe Morton, I would have to say is I have a lot of her fabrics because they're Civil War era, and that's
Uh,
one of my favorites. And then one that a lot maybe haven't heard of is Hatched and Patched, which
mm,
she's an Australian
oh, okay.
designer. Does a lot of unique. And Jen Kingwell, which, yeah, I've been working on, which on the design wall back there are all the blocks that I've been doing from Long Time Gone.
Mm,
I think it needs to be renamed. I mean, it's a good thing it says long in
yeah,
it
yeah.
because it's a challenge. I love her patterns. Of course, I don't do it in the colors that she does
Right.
because yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, an example is because I mean, these are little churn dash blocks that are 3-inch blocks that use 1 inch, you
Yeah.
know, 1 inch half square triangles. So it's a challenge, and I love a challenge
Yeah.
and working with them. So yeah,
Did
that
you hand
would be
sew those or did you do those on the machine?
no, that I do on the machine. I
Oh, okay.
do love also hand piecing, but
Yeah.
no, not in that.
Mm. So with all these ones that you're talking about, you mentioned too that you seem to gravitate towards the Civil War style fabrics. I hear a lot of American quilters talk a lot about the Civil War fabric. See, for us in Canada, of course, because historically the Civil War doesn't mean anything to us.
Right.
But what is it? And I know what Civil War fabrics look like, but what is it about those that attract you? Is it the historical connection or the colors?
It's just the colors and the fabrics and the way you can use them all
Mm.
and they will all, I mean, that's like this. I mean, I have pulled probably, oh, like 81 different fabrics out of my Civil War and combined Kim Deal with it because hers will blend with Civil War fabrics also. And they just, yeah, on a quilt that you're doing as a sample or a scrappy, you don't have to worry about it because they're all going to end up going together. It's just the style of it, and it was what some of the designers back in when I started was basically a lot of what they used.
They were doing, yeah, with it all.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of wanted to ask you that question because I haven't asked anybody that question before, but I've heard a lot of quilters, American quilters, are very attracted to the Civil War period style fabric.
No, I like the 30s reproduction fabrics too, but
So you're actually attracted to the historical ones, I guess. See, I'm the opposite. I like those, but I tend, if it's bold and bright, that attracts me. And add a little blue in there because I love blue. Well, then you got me at that point. So of course, I'm sure there's Civil War fabrics that are in blue too. Maybe I should be exploring that possibility as well. Ooh, more
right.
fabric. Buy. Yay. Don't need it.
Now I was in the military and had to wear blue every day, so
Oh, so
I have a tendency not to use blue as much. I not that I don't like blue, it's just, yeah, kind of. I'm getting back to now. I will have to say though, there is an exception because I love Americana
oh, okay.
fabrics, so I use a lot in that. But
Yeah. I'm always a little jealous of the patterns that have a patriotic theme in them because you have three colors you can use in that for the states, red, white, and blue. We're missing a color. We only have red and white.
yeah,
Just
yeah.
doesn't give you the versatility of it. And if you put blue in with red and white, as soon as people look at it, the first thing they think of, this is an American style quilt from it all. So yeah, we need another color in our
Now I
flag.
kind of shy away from the pure white of it though, and I use a lot of beige and
Yeah,
tan instead because I just don't like the stark white.
start quite. Yeah, that's true. It's a little bit. See, I do. That's bold. I stay away from the ones that are more off-white because to me they look dirty. Although I have used them, so it depends. It depends.
Yep.
So let's talk about your YouTube channel. I've been watching it as well. I love it. I love it when you're doing the chats and things like that, but you do give a lot of great advice and you give a lot of great instruction. And you said that one of your things is to be a teacher as well. So how long have you had the YouTube channel?
It's been 4 months.
Thought it was pretty new with it, but you're growing fairly fast. I think when I looked today, you're over 500 subscribers. So
Yes.
it's on the upwards, and that's great. And I hope after this, people see this interview that you're going to get a whole bunch of new subscribers as well. Because it's, as I said before we start the interview, your YouTube channel is definitely valuable to anybody at any stage of quilting, but also because you do a variety of things, like you do knitting, you do crocheting on there. I even saw some stuff about food as well.
Food.
I think you had something on there, one of your playlists or something. There was some food or
Oh,
cooking.
okay. I don't know. I don't on my playlist. I'm not sure. I was gonna say I haven't done a video about food. I
Oh,
don't
okay.
think.
So that may have been just something that you gathered up. I thought it was you doing it. I didn't actually go in and look at it. So, but either way, you've got a good variety of things there for people at basically any level. I think they'll find something there. So why did you start a YouTube channel?
Basically it started out of I had a Facebook group first and some of the things wanting to do the videos and stuff and that now with YouTube available, it was the easiest media to go to and do that so that it would be a good place for them to go and see what it was that I wanted to do because of course, going live in Facebook is
Not
not a good thing at all.
no,
So
no.
that is basically why, and also because I love sharing, the quilting and everything with others as much as I can, getting others to get the interest and that type of thing. And I love teaching, so which I do teach personally on the side, but yeah, so it was a great form of media to
Yep.
get to a lot of people and get them interested and help those by the tips and demos and that. And I like to accommodate any comments, questions, suggestions that I get. If I'm able to, jot that down and come back and help them out, I'm more than willing to do that and share with the world the fun and quilting.
Well, definitely the characteristics of a true teacher, for sure. With that, so you were saying too that you actually do some teaching in another area or spot.
Yeah, I've done no, well, I have done teaching out outside. I just do it on a one-on-one,
Oh,
you know, by appointment only
right.
type thing locally. Right,
Yeah,
right here
right
in
here.
my stitching cottage. Yep. I
Yeah.
have a large, I don't know if you know what a quilter's dream, the horn quilter's dream cabinet is, but it's got a whole nother
Yes.
side on it.
Yeah.
So I have, yeah, they actually end up with more space than I do. I always go, what's wrong with this picture?
Yeah, really. The teacher gets the small chair. Yeah.
Yeah.
With that. So, do you have any desire to actually run like courses on YouTube or series of tutorials?
Right. I hope to eventually at some time teach on Zoom
Mm,
or with a combination of Zoom and YouTube.
right.
But
That'd
yeah.
be great. That would be nice. And there you go. The advantages of technology. You can do it right from your own home, and your students can be in their own home and the whole thing. So yeah, I'm a great believer in Zoom. Definitely. So do you have any challenges or goals for the future, like certain projects you want to get into, or you're talking, of course, about thinking outside of the box, anything new coming up that you would like to eh, go into in more detail or learn more about?
As far as on my YouTube, I am starting a new format of being on live the one day for a longer period of time to where I hope to do a, s- a series of things and changing it out to where when I'm going live, it's not just me. Every once in a while, I'll have a special guest on, maybe, interview people from time to time, do collaborations, or actually be showing in more detail things because I do a lot of quilt alongs and that type of thing. And that way, some of that can be incorporated into that. Having a more informative and structured type of live than just a chat, you
Right.
know,
Yeah.
and that type of thing. So that I am incorporating in, and that's, a little challenging. And I know that one of the things that I need to get more into because I am not a techie person. I don't understand tech. I need, the 5-year-old grandchild to come over and please
Yeah.
show me how to use this because yeah, I'm old, you know? I mean, I'm older than you, Stephen, so
Not by much.
oh, yes, I think I've got you by about 11 years, so
Okay, you're not supposed, a lady doesn't tell her age or even hint
I
at
didn't unless people know how old you are,
yeah,
so
that's true. Well, I'm not going to say a word then because it,
but I don't mind. I'm proud of every year that
yeah,
I've that
yeah,
I've gotten, but so one of my challenges is to get better camera equipment and that type of thing so that I can get the proper, not that there's a proper angle, but better angles so that people can actually see what I
yeah.
am
Yeah.
doing better. So
Some
that's my
people,
challenge.
people who aren't content creators don't realize the time and the effort and the thought that goes into every video we make.
Right,
It's not something you just kind of, oh yeah, I'm going to make a video kind of a
right.
thing. There's a whole planning process, and of course, equipment is a biggie. I mean, I've evolved over the years with mine, and still there is lots of room for more improvement. It's just a question of, do I want to spend all my time doing videos? That's eating into my quilting time. So, you got to strike a balance here somehow with it
The
all.
one the one good thing about mine, and like you, I do not edit. I don't believe in editing because what you see is what you get. If I stumble on my words, people stumble on their words. It's okay. I've made up a few words as I'm doing it. Like I
Wait,
remember one of my first videos, I was supposed to say multiple, and I said multitude. I went, oh, well, new word.
you
It's
were
like, okay, maybe they didn't notice it. But I believe that if you make a mistake, you're showing that you're human, you're not perfect. And you also, because you made that mistake, people are getting to see, okay, she made a mistake. Now, how is she going to be able to correct it? So it's a learning process in that way too. And I don't believe that it should be edited out. It happens,
Yeah,
now here's
it's
what we're
real.
going to do to correct that mistake. So,
Yeah, it's real. Let people see that. I mean, when I first got into quilting, I watched some very highly polished videos and it scared me. It made me
mhm,
think, oh, wow, I could never do that. And basically, it's why I started Idiot Quilter as well, for the same reason. I don't edit, I stumble over words, I make mistakes, I show how I corrected it or what I did with it, in hopes that, people will learn from the mistakes, kind of.
mhm.
And also to show them you're not perfect every time. Doesn't matter how long you've been doing this. You are going to make a mistake. You just move on. You don't let it get you down. You just move on. It's a learning experience.
As
So,
long as it's not with a rotary cutter while we're live.
well, that's a different type of mistake there. That one's one nobody wants to make. Ask
Oh,
me how
yeah.
I know that. Yeah. Okay. Keep your rotary cutter when you're not using it closed. For
Oh, yes, most definitely.
the old reaching over. Where is that? Oh, I think I found it. And I don't want to look now. I didn't want that white fabric anymore anyways. It's
Right, and don't grab your iron by the sole plate to move
oh
it up.
no, no. Yeah, I've done that too. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I stopped myself right before doing it. It's like, "Oh, no, don't do that."
Oh no, I've done it. I've done it. I've just thinking about something else, reach over for the iron and go, okay, that's hot. That's not what I wanted with that. So, do you have any advice for anybody then who wants to get started into quilting?
My advice would be to start small. Don't start thinking you want to make a bed-size quilt because you will get oh, I can't think of the word, it just went you discouraged because you aren't making progress fast enough. So
Right.
I would say start with something small, like a little table runner or just, one block that has, several things in it. And then give yourself grace because you're going to make mistakes. And remember that it's just one stitch at a time, one step at a time. Take it one step at a time and one stitch at a time, and you will get there. But
It's just fabric and thread, as the marine or quilting marine says, too. It's not the end of the world here.
yeah,
You're not
right.
stitching on
There
gold.
is. I do have a quilt behind me and it's this one. Yeah. Which I don't know how much of that you can see. I could
That is-
try and but this is one that I have taught several times.
Mm,
And
That's
it's very simple, but
but it's very dramatic in the
yeah.
blocks and the whole bit. And is that Civil War fabric?
No, it is not.
Okay.
Nope. Well, yeah, it's a combination, but
Yeah.
no, if I can get it closer because it takes you through the whole steps from beginning to
Ah,
end
right. I see
of
that.
making a quilt. And it is also showing, I mean, there's a lot of half square triangles in there, and it's each block, it's done like a block of the month, but more a block of the week to get it done quicker. But I showed different techniques for making the half
Yeah.
square triangles. So as a beginner, you need to know there's not just one way of
Yeah.
doing everything. Try the different ways and find out which one you like and what one you're comfortable with.
Yeah.
So
And I guess what scares a lot of beginners too is the old quilt police. I'm doing this wrong. Someone's going to criticize me. Nope. If somebody criticizes you, then and you call them a friend, don't have them as a friend anymore. Yeah.
right. Yeah.
A friend will not criticize you.
No, make maybe a suggestion, but not criticize.
That's right. That's right. And I think that's what a lot of people are afraid of. But I liked what you said, start small. You're not going to be making show quilts for your first quilt with
Yep.
it. Accept that fact. It's a journey. It's not a one-off kind of a thing. If you're really serious about doing this, you're going to learn as you go along and you're going to build
Mhm.
on those skills. So yeah. So before we say goodbye, do you have any parting comments or parting words that you'd like to say, or have we covered it all?
I think we have basically pretty much covered it all.
Well, I think so too. So I want to thank you so much for spending the time with me for this interview. It was great. Your YouTube channel, which is called again, Kept in Stitches. I'm going to put that on in the show notes for this interview as well, so people can look up what you have to offer. And there is much there to be offered, as I already said. So people, go support. You have to support your
Yeah.
creators out there.
We might want to say one thing and the reason
Yeah.
for how I came up with the name. I
Okay.
just thought of that. And the kept
Yes.
in stitches is because I'm not only quilting, I encompass all forms of stitching. And most things that you do in stitching are kept some way. So it's kept in stitches. There's a few people that think I say captain stitches.
I know. I
I'm
did
not.
that the other day. Someone was doing. I think it was when you were at the sew along with me, or the pop up sew day with me too. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was-
And there's been a couple that think, oh, it's, keeping you in stitches and laughter. And it's
Yeah.
like, no, I'm not a comedy show. Not that I can't be humorous at times, but it's,
Yeah. So it is
but that's
kept,
how I came up with that. Yeah.
it's kept in stitches. And as I said, I will have the link to it in the show notes below so people can check it all out. And I encourage them to do so. So, well, thank you so much for this. This was excellent. Great. Don't you go away from me yet as I'm saying goodbye to everybody, but thanks.
Thank you very much.
Oh, well, you're more than welcome. And I know we'll be talking again probably very soon. So thank
Okay.
you.